Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn. Good morning, sir. How are you on this Tuesday? It is cold out there.
It's cold, Paul. I'm doing well. Yeah. Glad to be with you today.
Good to have you. I was trying to tweet this out, and I could not for some odd reason, but I wanted to show it this way. And I always say, I got to tweet this out because it doesn't work that well on the camera. But you did a simplistic cartoon form or graph here, I should say, and I thought that was brilliant simply because it's in its simplicity. People who are busy can see this side by side. Explain this. This is the Tax Freedom Act, individual tax savings, and you've compared the House plan and the Senate plan. And first of all, before we get to that, where is it in the process now?
Well, we passed our plan a long time ago, Paul. I don't know, second, third week of the session maybe, and sent it down to the Senate, and that's where it resides now. We are eagerly awaiting their response to that. We obviously believe it is a better plan. It is a good plan. We're hoping they will take it up. The Senate has yet to even file their plan, I believe. They've talked about it, but I'm not aware that they've actually dropped the bill. So that's kind of where it sits. We believe this should have and could have been handled a whole lot sooner than it is being handled now, but we're still eagerly awaiting the opportunity to eliminate the income tax for citizens of the state, and that is kind of the difference between the two. One eliminates income tax, the other one does not. And I think it just depends on what your goal is. And this little chart that you're referencing is something that we put together to compare what we understand they have planned, what they're planning to put forward. I know they've been on this show and Gerard's show, and we've seen other press releases about their plan. So this chart, which you will find on my website, and here, I think we've given it to you. I think your listeners can download this, and it's just a two-page illustration that shows some of the highlights, some of the differences between the two, and there's no doubt which is the better of the two for the taxpayer.
Do you have this as a link that we could share with folks to download it, since I can't get it done this morning for some reason?
Yes, sir. I can get that to you.
Okay. Just if you can do it, I'd appreciate that.
I'll try to get that to you as soon as I get off the air. I'll text it to you.
What the chart says is meet Betty and Jim. I don't know why you chose those names, but that's okay. They both work hard for their money. They each earn $40,000 per year. They each spend about $5,200 per year on groceries. They each spend about $10,000 per year on items subject to sales tax. Is that come from some economic study?
Yes, sir. Yes, okay. Sir. And as you and I have talked on this show before, people need to remember, this is a very important point, the overwhelming majority of what they spend their money on is not subject to the sales tax. Your mortgage, your insurance, your gasoline, your medicine, your utilities, and even your groceries that we're cutting in half under our plan. None of those things are subject to the sales tax, and this is one of the big red herrings, as I call it, that others are trying to put the listeners off on, is by saying, well, under the House plan, they're raising the sales tax $0.015. Keep in mind, the only thing that's going to go up is the things you consume, things that are subject to the sales tax. And the statistics that we have, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, is that everybody spends about a fourth of their income on stuff that's actually subject to the sales tax. So under this illustration, you see Betty and Jim are earning $10,000 a year. $40,000 a year. Statistically, they're only spending about a fourth of that on stuff subject to the sales tax. So that's where you get the $10,000 figure. And that means that if the sales tax goes up $0.015, their annual tax burden only goes up $150, about $12 a month, $10 a month.
They would make that up easily just in the grocery taxes alone to cut that.
Absolutely. They get more back by cutting their car tags in half, by cutting their groceries almost in half, and eliminating their income tax. They will always end up with more money in their pocket. Here's kind of the difference. Under the House plan, our tax refund to the taxpayers is $2.2 billion. Under the between eliminating the groceries, or cutting the groceries in half, I should say, cutting your car tag in half, eliminating your income tax. The total is about $2.2 billion that we're returning to the taxpayers. Under the Senate plan, it's only about $400 million. So there's a vast difference between the two. And then under the House plan, a penny and a half sales tax generates about $700 million. So if I give you $200 today and I take back $70, you've netted $130 today. If I do that, you take that deal every day of the week. Every day of the week. If I give you 200 and take back 70, you're going to keep it, and that's what we're talking about here. That's the difference.
I'm cautious about the understanding of this, because we live in a county where the tags are not outrageous, but you say here they each pay $600 per year on car tax. There are some people in this state that still pay up to that kind of money for car tax.
There are, and as I understand it, the tax rate when you buy a car is 5%. So if you buy, the average cost of a used car in Mississippi is $25,000. Got that from the automobile dealers. So the tax on that's about $2,000. Excuse me, $1,200. And so half of that's $600. So if you cut your car tags in half, you're going to get that back in your pocket.
Why haven't you guys in the House entertained what the Senate has done, and also the governor talks about, to do this without raising any money or increasing taxes at all? Is it a point where the economists are fiscally responsible and they feel like you have to have something to supplant it? And speak to that, because the House is the only ones that say we're going to increase sales taxes, and at a minimum of 1.5. But
well, our objective is to get rid of the income tax as quickly as possible, as responsibly as possible. We have been on this show before, Paul, and talked about the overwhelming benefits of eliminating the income tax. We've had economists, policy think tank people who all advise that getting rid of the income tax will result in tremendous economic prosperity in our state. One of the studies that was done shows that if we get rid of the income tax, it will result in a $371 million increase every year in our gross domestic product. That's our wealth. Yeah. We talked about the advantages of making ourselves more competitive when we attract jobs in industry. You talked about the ability of our citizens to better provide for their families and improve their quality of life, give more to their church. All the advantages of getting rid of the income tax are not going to be realized until we get there. So getting there as quickly as possible is a good thing. We also want to do it in a way that does not do great harm to the services that we provide. So if you just phase it out through growth, we've done those numbers. It takes 30 years to get there. That's not as quickly as possible. And there's nobody out there saying, hey, I'm going to move to Mississippi because 30 years from now they're not going to have an income tax. Our people need real relief, and they need it now. And we need to get there as quickly as possible. We also have a number of people who want to make sure that we don't suffer some decline in services, roads, bridges, education, and whatnot. So we've got to find a way to replace. You got to find a way to replace that revenue, Paul. And we do it through a combination of a slight, nominal, non-impactful increase in the sales tax, and through growth. We half of our plan is based on growth, phasing it out over a period of time. So we think it's a very responsible plan. It gets us where we want to be.
That $371 million that goes back into the coffers, that's the total amount of money that will not be paid for income tax through the cutting that $40,000 of income. Is that 371? Is that what you said?
$371 million increase in the GDP. Now, the total GDP tax cut is $1.8 billion back to the taxpayers. The amount that the income tax generates in our state is $1.8 billion.
I got it. And folks need to know that, because, I mean, that's going to be generated, as you just said, and you kind of hit the categories there, of putting that kind of money back into mom-and-pop stores, charity, whatever it happens to be. Is going to be a shot to the bloodstream of the economics in our state. And also want to talk about how we're doing this on a phase-in basis, because the Senate, when Josh was on, I don't think people understood this. When this one only goes for, as far as the Senate's concerned, 2 or 3 years, and then they just take a look at it again. So it's not ending the income tax, personal income tax. It's just giving you a little bit of a break. So we'll continue to talk about this when we return. I see. Lincoln County, Philip in Lincoln County says he's got a 2019 Chevy truck. He pays a tag cost of $800. Wow.
There you go. Well, under the House
in
plan, he saves $400 right out of the gate. So,
in the Senate plan, he saves $800 though.
Under the Senate plan, he saves $5 on the car tags.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
I thought he saves $5.
$5, sir. That is correct. The Senate plan proposes to remove the state portion of the car tax. And I don't want people to be tricked into thinking that's some massive amount. The state portion of the car tag is $5.
Okay, I was
and let me say this, Paul. That's on the new tag.
Portion of that.
That's on the new tag. That's when you go and buy the plate. When you just get your sticker, when you just do the renewal, it's $3.75. The House plan cuts your car tag in half. Under the House plan, this gentleman saves $400. Under the Senate plan, he saves, it's a 2019, so I guess he's getting a renewed tag. He saves $3.75. This is why it's critically important for people to pay attention to that graphic that you first talked about, Paul, and we're working to get that up. I'll share the link with you later. But going back to that graphic, we show the difference between the two plans. This is just simple math. All you got to do is go in there and look. In the first year of the plan, an individual, under this illustration, it's Betty, she saves $1,500. Under the Senate plan, $250. This is why there's an extreme difference. This illustration shows the extreme difference between the House plan and the Senate plan. And the citizens of our state end up keeping an enormous amount more of their hard-earned dollars under the House plan than they do under the Senate plan. And this is why they need to get behind the House plan.
Every fiscally responsible taxpayer has that other question, can we afford this? I understand it's not our home budget. I understand it's our state budget, and we are a part of that. And if something terrible happens, then we are going to feel the effects of that. But I'm telling you, in the many interviews that I've done and talked to people, and I think you've put it straight here, you guys have done due diligence and say that we can afford this. And I think from all of the statistics, everything I've seen, I'm feeling pretty confident. And I'm hoping other people, too, are also, that with this plan, it is fiscally responsible.
Absolutely, it is fiscally responsible. And we have accommodated for every argument, every concern. We got a fiscal note out there that shows that there is no loss of revenue. We had the Senate themselves had hearings last summer, had 3 witnesses testify there is no loss of revenue under this plan. That was one of their concerns. In fact, I have listened to Senator Harkins on your show and Gerard's show, and if he said it once, he said it 20 times. Protect the budget, protect the budget, protect the budget. That is code for spend, spend, spend. It appears that the difference is that the Senate is worried about trying to spend more of your tax dollars. Paul, we have level funded the entire budget this year. We have filled every need that government has. We have filled the rainy day fund. We have fixed the PERS retirement system. And we still have $1 billion left over. My argument is it's time to give some of that money back to the taxpayers. We've even done the teacher pay raise on top of that and still have money left over. The only reason to keep it is to spend it. And that's not where the House of Representatives is. We're not looking to grow government. We're not looking to expand government. And I was interested in the fact that they keep complaining about the 1.5 cent slight 1.5 cent sales tax increase. Then take it out of the bill and send it back. If that's the problem, you know how the legislative process works, Paul. We pass a bill, we send it on there for their consideration. If they don't like parts of it, They change it and they send it back. If they don't like that part of it, just take it out and send it back, and we'll continue to discuss how to accommodate for that. But instead, they bring forward a plan that doesn't come close to giving the tax relief to the citizens that they deserve.
Are they serious about it? Are they serious about it? Number one, the bill is done, and if you haven't even filed it yet, and it looks like it's going to be one of the difficult things to do, because I got to tell you, a lot of people are worried because you guys are so far apart that even in conference committees, it's going to be very difficult to come together on this thing, and the session will end, and we'll have nothing done, and got to wait to another year to just bring this up. But since you guys are so far apart, and since they have the bill there, why haven't they released that and started debate on it?
It's a great question, Paul. Last year, about this time, we unveiled our first plan. They claimed they didn't have time to look at it. Okay, we're a year later now. For the last 9 months, 10 months, we've been requesting an opportunity to sit down and talk to them and say, hey, let's sit down and visit about this. Let's see what we can come to an agreement on. I've requested 3 opportunities to sit down and talk with them about it, with the lieutenant governor, actually. Yeah. And have yet to be given an opportunity. I had a face-to-face meeting with him back in October, so we need to devote some time to this. I had another request of him, and then I wrote him a letter. And he responded and said that he was not going to meet until after they unveiled their plan. So we're still waiting for that opportunity to sit down and talk. And so you raise a great question, Paul. Are we serious or are we not? Are we serious about giving tax relief to our citizens and putting money back into their pockets, or are we just playing games with them? And I am not for playing games with them. What we're talking about is serious tax relief. You, Paul, last week on your show, got it. You used the illustration of a barbecue grill. Do you remember doing that?
Yes, I do.
You had Gerard on the show, and y'all were talking about this plan, and you said under the House plan, a $100 barbecue grill would go from the tax on that would go from $7 to $8.50. And you said no one's going to not go buy a barbecue grill because it goes up $1.50, particularly when you don't buy a barbecue grill every year. You're talking about spreading $0.015 over multiple years. That kind of analysis is spot on, Paul. You get it, and I think the taxpayers get it. I think people understand that this is not a problem. And if the Senate has a problem with it, they need to just take it out and send it back, and then we'll talk about it.
I got some feedback from some good friends, and don't get me wrong, I know the Republicans have done a great job, but I made the mention also it sounded like Democrats had put this bill together. And then this morning I'm taking a look at who are the people arguing about this. It's the Democrat Black Caucus. It's the Democrat Hob Bryan, David Blunt, some of these people, because I don't care how much money you have. You can have $1 billion surplus as we have. You could have $5 billion. But it's always tax, because we got to spend it on different things out there. Everything's been funded.
Everything's been
funded. I
funded.
find it an insult that Nancy Loom would be there doing the same thing she's always done. Nancy Loom has never, because of the so-called bad-named parents campaign, Nancy Loom has never come to the aid and talked about CRT in schools. She's never come to the aid and talked about other things that happen in school itself, school protection, school CRT, the curriculum, all these things. It's always about protecting the people who make money from education and billions of dollars. It's always protecting the contracts. And she basically said that you people will be shafting the schools because you've already cut the schools. When did you cut the schools? Education has more money this year, this coming fiscal year, than they probably ever had.
You're exactly
Certainly
right.
with all the federal dollars.
You're exactly right. We have put more money into education than ever in the history of the state. And on top of that, this year, the House has brought forward a teacher pay plan, which serves to bring our starting pay take it beyond the national average and the southeastern average. I mean, we are doing phenomenal things in the arena of education. And we still have $1 billion in surplus. What more can we spend it on? I would argue there's nothing we can spend, nothing more than that we should spend it on ahead of giving it back to the taxpayers, the people who gave it to us in the beginning. And the projections are that this is not one-time revenue. We've heard that argument also. Yeah. Oh, we got to worry about this being one-time revenue. No, the economic projections show this is going to be an annually recurring thing. So we're not putting the budget in jeopardy by doing this.
Philip, I thank you. We've got a final segment here. Let you touch on any other bills. It's a short segment, but if you want to touch on any other bills that are of importance to you, please do that in the final segment. Leslie in Grenada says, I get a camper that I use once a year. I pay a tag on it. The tag is $1,000. Leslie, you would save on the house plan $500. You would save on the Senate plan $5. $5 bill.
$5.
$500 would help in the gas to power that thing on vacation. All right, back with the Speaker of the House. The final thought, sir.
Well, that reminds me of that. I think it's a Subway commercial, $5 foot long.
Yeah,
you know, we could do a little jingle.
You got one
$5,
1 foot long.
$5.
Any other bill that you want to highlight here?
Well, let's finish up this, Paul. At least I'd like to. You have referenced this chart, and I would like to point out the extreme differences there. You know, their income, by eliminating the 4% bracket. That may sound great, but you pay a 4% tax on what you make between $5,000 and $10,000. That dollar amount is $200 total. And they're proposing to phase that out over a 4-year period of time. So under the first year of their plan, the taxpayer saves $50. First year of our plan, $1,300. First year of their plan, on your car tags, you save $5. Under our plan, it's half of whatever you're currently paying. I think the differences are glaring. The differences are significant, and people need to look at this little chart that we've talked about. I'll get you the link for that, and it just lays it out, Paul. People do better. Mississippi does better. Under this little chart, we say Betty does better. Well, Mississippi does better under the House plan, and I'm all for giving our money back to the taxpayers. I think that's what we need to do. We have funded government, and we need to get the money back to the people.
This is not on the next deadline. We have all the way to the end of the session to do this.
Not all the way to the end of the session, but right now we are in the Thursday of this week is the deadline to pass general bills out of each respective chamber. And so we in the House are working to get our general bills passed. Senate's working to get their general bills passed. Then we will move into this time period where we do revenue and appropriation bills, and then we will go to the time period where we do each other's general bills. The deadline for this particular bill on the tax bill, since it is a revenue bill, is not until March the 9th, I think. Don't hold me to that date, but it's a while off. So something, that's for them to deal with our bill, and then we will enter into the conference period. So we've got all the way until conference weekend, which will be near the end of March.
Is the governor, first of all, have you had any talks with the Lieutenant Governor, Delbert Hosemann?
Well, as I said earlier, I have had numerous requests to sit down and walk through our plan, talk about our plan, the details of our plan. Not had that opportunity. We've had conversations about getting it done, but no opportunity to really sit down and walk through the details of our plan and alleviate whatever concerns that he may have.
Yeah. As far as the governor or the lieutenant governor, you haven't had any conversations with them as far as the House plan? And
yes, sir.
Maybe
had conversations with the governor. Have sat down with the governor, and he has expressed support for eliminating the income tax, and seemed to be open to the plan that we have put forward.
And again, I know it's an unknown number, but it is a reality now, and we're going to have revenue, and nobody knows how much. There's just numbers flying out there, but there is going to be revenue that goes into the state's coffers from medical marijuana, and that's another asset that we could use to give people a break.
You're correct, and the reason that is not included in this plan is because we could not quantify that. We do not yet know what that dollar amount will be, so we did not want to put out a plan that wasn't based upon unknown numbers or not solid numbers. The plan that we've got is based upon a readily identifiable, solid information that comes from the Legislative Budget Office, Department of Revenue, other sources. So we believe our numbers are correct. And if they're not, if the Senate believes they're not, then sit down and show us why. But they haven't done that.
How do you answer Nancy Loom of the Parents Campaign saying that this would put the education system in our state at risk?
That's just flat wrong. That's just a lie. That's not the truth. Like I said earlier, we have funded the entire education system now. We have put more money in education than in the history of our state. We have put forward a $200 million teacher pay raise. That's just misleading and not correct.
And by the way, if you've seen the numbers, I haven't seen the new numbers yet, but somebody told me that the new numbers of the total number of students in public schools, which has been going down for a long time, because of COVID and because of homeschool and CRT and some other things, the number of students is rapidly decreasing in our state. So we're the number of students enrolled in public school was decreasing before COVID hit. I haven't seen the numbers since. Absolutely.